All right, we are live.
That's the way you do it, yeah.
No, I don't have anywhere.
Oh.
All right, 5:30 having arrived on Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. I'd like to call to order the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting. All right, at this time, we'll take roll call.
Alder West,
Here.
Alder Horton,
Here.
Alder Land,
Here.
Alder Pathrak,
Here.
Alder McCarthy.
Present.
That completes roll call.
All right, thank you. At this time, having approval of the minutes for May 8th, 2023. Move to approve.
Second.
All right, properly moved by Vice Chair Horton, and seconded by Alder McCarthy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes approved. First item.
Item number 0557-23, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the city clerk requesting to sole source an ADA lift from LVD Incorporated for the mobile election unit. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to enter into a contract with LVD Incorporated to install an ADA compliant lift in the mobile election unit. Fiscal note, cost not to exceed $50,000, available in the 2023 unused election budget. Clerk McMiniman is here to speak on the item.
Hi, thank you for having me. I do have a short presentation. I'm gonna try to keep it to 5 minutes, but I would like to just go over a couple things and why we're here today. So first and foremost, thank you, Kathleen, for introducing me. I'm Tara McMiniman. I'm the city clerk and treasury manager here at the city. For those of you who don't know me, I'm gonna explain a little bit about our mobile election unit. Thank you, Pam. Can you go ahead and scroll down one for me? So what is what we call the MEU, which stands for Mobile Election Unit? It's the vehicle that was designed from Center for Tech and Civic Life grant funds back in 2020 upon the approval of the Common Council as a cost-effective way to provide absentee voting throughout the city of Racine. The mobile election unit has been essential in early voting, allowing the clerk's office to expand early voting and outreach throughout the city. I have included a few pictures for those of you who have never seen the inside or the outside. This is our mobile election unit. Thank you. All right, so why are we bringing this before you right now? So we did have a Wisconsin Election Commission ruling in which the WEC has ruled the original mobile election unit, which was in the pictures, as not being compliant with ADA regulations due to a missing lift in the vehicle. There are major delays in the vehicle industry, especially with a project of this scale. So in order to attempt to get the mobile election unit back on the road for 2024 elections, the work has to be approved and the project can be added to the wait list. All right, so what does the mobile election unit provide? The mobile election unit allows the clerk's office to expand absentee voting to more locations throughout the city of Racine. Voters who otherwise might not be able to submit their vote can come to one of the notice dates and times and are helped by clerk's office staff. Outside the 2 weeks prior to the election, which is the only time allowed for early in-person voting, the mobile election unit is utilized for voter registration events. So a little bit on why we're requesting a sole source and specific cost. So the clerk's office did reach out to 4 different companies who are all known to provide lift into vehicles. The only positive response we received back was from LVT Incorporated in Burlington, Wisconsin. They were the original designers of the mobile election unit and the only ones who were willing to take on the work. The cost for the quote came in at $49,732, which is why we've asked not to exceed $50,000. The remaining of the budget is coming out of the election budget, which was budgeted for 2023, but was unused. Most of that being the cost of election officials, overtime that was unused by staff, all of which were in the election budget. We do not need due to no more elections this year. We're going to knock on wood for that one. Please scroll down. Here's a little bit of a diagram from LVD on exactly the work that they're planning to do. In the middle picture where you see kind of the overview of the mobile election unit, you'll notice in the back south part, that's where the lift will be. So they're going to be adding a door and adding an ADA compliant lift to that section, allowing voters who are wheelchair restricted to be able to be lifted into the van and able to provide the same service inside. The mobile election unit is also designed to have outside voting. So we do have lights, an awning, electric, all those things outside. However, due to the Wisconsin Election Commission ruling, we also need to be able to provide these services inside if they were restricted to a wheelchair. I'm going to give you a few stats on elections before we scroll. I do want to clarify a little bit. So election cycles are kind of strange in that they're 4 years long. We received the mobile election unit in the second half of 2021. So we've only been using it since the fall of 2021. So we've only had 6 elections that we've had the mobile election unit. So at this point in time, all the stats that I have are relatively recent because of that fact. I'd also like to give the disclaimer that in the world of elections, COVID changed everything, as we keep hearing over and over, but all of the statistics post-COVID, we haven't been through a full election cycle yet. So please keep those numbers in mind as we kind of go through the next slides. So between 2018 and 2023, these are the numbers of absentee polling locations that we've had. Can you scroll just a tad bit more? Thank you. So you'll see that little dip in 2021. We did not have the mobile election unit for the spring of 2021. We received it after, and there were only 2 elections in 2021, which is why you'll see that number is slightly decreased. But you'll see that 2022 and 2023, these are the number of locations that we've been able to service since having the mobile election unit. So as you can see, we've drastically increased the amount of places that we've been throughout the city of Racine. Thanks. I did put in a few pictures. I know it's hard to think in your mind, well, how much is, 20 locations, 21 locations, and I couldn't fit them all in here. Most of these locations are places like community centers, a few schools. There are 1 or 2 businesses, as well as the house on the very bottom is actually a COP house. So we also do visit COP houses in the community. We try to make sure that those locations are spread evenly throughout the city of Racine. North, south, west, and even a little bit east, although we pretty much are east here at City Hall.
Interesting.
A new term, no, just kidding. So what are the benefits of having the mobile election unit? So we obviously can expand in-person absentee voting. It allows us to visit more locations. We received a cost saving from the purchase of technology. If we were to have 20 locations for early voting, we would essentially need 3 laptops, 3 dyno labels, 3 staff members at all times at all of these locations. By having the mobile election unit, we can essentially drive from one place to the next, which are all noticed in that type E notice, which you have to by law. But it does allow us to not have to buy so many things, right? Don't have to buy so many computers. We don't have to have, 14 staff on one day, right? We can do 2 locations for a couple hours each day and visit many more places throughout the city. Sorry, scroll back up. Thank you. Also is a contingency plan. So for those of you who don't know, the clerk's office about 4 years ago put in place contingency plans for elections. Since then, we haven't had to use all of our contingencies, but we've had to use a lot. We've had snowstorms, power outages, pandemics. So although I feel like sometimes I jinx myself by creating contingency plans, they have been really useful in that manner. So it does allow us, if we were ever at a location that maybe sadly had a fire or maybe was being evacuated or possibly the power went out, we could bring the mobile election to that location without having to stall election services and voting for that day. So it is a major part of our contingency plans. The last kind of square I have all the way on the right is its clerk's office staff. I do a lot around our office about actually seeing the public, meeting the public, and answering questions. By law, the mobile election unit has to be staffed by clerk's office staff. So this really allows us to get out there in the community and people feel like they have a little bit of a closer sense of government when they can see people that work at City Hall working the mobile election unit. So it's actually been really nice. Thanks, Pam. A little bit just on the numbers. So we want to know how many people are voting, right? So these numbers are all early in-person absentee votes. As you can see from the spring mayoral election in 2019, we had 706 people who voted in-person absentee voting. In 2022 spring mayoral election, right, we got 4-year cycles, we've had 1,237 people vote early in-person voting. So as you can see, our numbers are increasing. Whether or not that's due to just getting the word out, right, providing more services, all of these things kind of come back to more people are voting early and in person. Thanks, Pam. Last but not least, the conclusion. So while our first election cycle with the MEU is still underway, we've already begun to see an increase in early in-person absentee voting. As we continue to utilize and increase awareness to the mobile election unit, the clerk's office hopes it serves as not only a means to submit your absentee vote, but also to remind voters not to forget to vote. No matter how you submit your vote, ensuring your vote is counted is how every citizen exercises their power in government. And my last slide is just for thank yous and questions.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Alderman McCarthy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah, for the presentation. Just as a reminder and for information, I believe the city council approves the locations that the MEU goes to them, correct?
Correct. Every December, the clerk's office submits a list of absentee, early and in-person absentee voting locations that the common council does approve, after which we take those locations and we select them evenly throughout the city to the best of our ability.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tara? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion at this time for 0557-23.
Motion to approve. Second.
Moved by Alder Paffrath, seconded by Alder Mary Land. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 0559-23, communication sponsored by Alder Paffrath and Alder Coe, requesting permission to hear a presentation from Venue Works to discuss the current contract and operations of Festival Hall and Memorial Hall. Staff recommendation that Venue Works be granted permission to present and discuss the current contract and operations of Festival Hall and Memorial Hall. Fiscal note is NA. Administrator Warnholz, I think, will introduce.
Mayor members, good evening. I'm here to introduce Steve Peters and HR Cook, and I believe someone else that they will introduce if they're using them as well. They're here to give a presentation and a follow-up to a meeting that we had a couple times ago that you requested that they appear. So they have a short PowerPoint for you to talk about their operations, and then any questions and comments afterwards after the presentation.
Yeah, no, I don't think that.
That's fine.
I'm Steve Peters. I'm the founder and CEO of Venue Works. I'm based in Ames, Iowa. Take you through these slides and do I have a clicker or how's that?
She will scroll for
Okay,
you.
I'm sorry.
All right. So we should go to the next slide then. This one. Second, there, no, second one.
Second one, sorry, you're going there.
All right. So,
Mhm.
oops, well, it's got a little scrambled on there, but we have about 3,500 employees in 50 venues in 13 states. We're a 100% employee-owned company, been in business for 27 years. We think of our job as maximizing events. It's our job to bring as many events to clients that we have around the country. By the way, I get launched here and I get excited, so I forgot to introduce HR Cook, who's a regional vice president and oversees events and accounts in this area. Ricky Gani, you know him, he's the general manager, been holding things together. We wouldn't be here without Ricky and his effort to, when things were closed down and we were doing COVID tests and COVID vaccinations and working with the National Guard and all the things that were happening down there. He and just a very few others were holding things together. So we really want to thank, I want to recognize Ricky for doing that. And then we also have with us Chris Cronin is from Milwaukee. He's head of a company called Launch Live. He's going to talk a little bit about how his company might be involved in terms of being able to promote events in the venues here. So if we go down to the next one. Okay, so we have 5 component parts that we use to support venues and like with the staff here. And they usually fall into these groups: food and beverage, of finance and administration, operations, programming, marketing, and sales. So those are the basic component parts of running venues. And the venues here, obviously, I guess we should have said it, but the Civic Center, as you know, includes Festival Hall, Memorial Hall, the Paul P. Harris Park and Amphitheater. They're great venues. And I'm here because in the last, I guess you go to the next one, I think. So in the so when those venues are fully used, we're doing festivals and concerts and expos, trade shows. You can see the list there. But the obvious thing is that for the last 4 years, it hasn't been that way. A couple of factors that obviously influenced it. First of all, our business of doing live events was the first one closed and the last one back. nationally, it's just the way it was. We were closed down, and like I said, we were doing those community service projects, but there really weren't any events. And then on the heels of that, or simultaneous with that, really, we've been going 6 months at a time with a contract because there was always the potential for a developer that was gonna come in and start developing new property, new hotel that might take up land that we might accidentally program for an event. And so we were not able to do much with that. You go to the next slide. I've only got just a few. But so we have booking limitations, severe service limitations. We have 2 people there now. And we can't really develop long-term partnerships or look forward to even doing an event. If we were to do a contract for an event today, we have now a contract that'll roll over and take us to the end of this year. But if somebody came and said, I want to do a reception next February, we wouldn't know if we were going to be here. We can tell them, yeah, we're going to be able to service your event because our contract is going 6 months at a time. We can't fill the empty personnel slots that we have if we're doing like that. So we're here today to talk to you about jump starting those venues and getting them back to normal. And we've got a proposal for you to consider. And I'm going to ask HR to step up here and talk more about that. So, Steve, yeah,
Real briefly about myself, I worked for the competitor for 23 years. I got a call from Steve Peters. I'm from Dubuque. And I was hired to come to Dubuque, go to Dubuque with my competitor to do exactly what we want to do here. It is a venue that held social programs. It held Sesame Street Live once in a while, high school graduations. It didn't have that top of mind awareness. And we have the same situation here. Steve Peters hired me, and I went to VenueWorks because of the philosophy of VenueWorks, being a family owned business, and also be able to be hands-on. I'm a regional. My territories are Illinois, Michigan, Iowa. I go down to Alabama. And when I came into Racine, I was down here 10 years ago. And it just didn't have the vibe that it has today. When I came in, we talked to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We talked to the Indian dealership, the retailers downtown, some of the promoters that don't come to the events at the festival hall anymore, and to downtown Racine. It just seems to be a disconnect, and we need to re-energize that. We need a executive director that will get out in the public and talk to be a part of the community, be a part of these committees, be a part of downtown, be a part of the CDB, and get out there and try to sell the community as a whole. Because you can feel this vibe in this community compared to the other surrounding areas that may be kind of on a downtrend. I feel Racine's on the upward trend. To begin with that, if you go to the next slide. Basically what you would do is get out in the public, start with the smaller events, start with working with downtown Racine to bring the visitors to down to the lakefront, inside Festival Hall, doing winter First Fridays, creating new events. We have a promoter that is already interested in doing a Comic-Con, which you do not have in this town, and he wants to expand his market. I've worked with Chris Cronin for about 4 years now with Launch Live out of Milwaukee, and he works in buildings similar to this size. And I said, come to Racine, take a look at both halls and tell me honestly what you can think if we can start doing some shows in here, because what we're seeing nationally is not necessarily the Live Nations coming to communities like this, but these regional promoters that are starting to expand a little bit into other communities. And I've done quite a bit of work with him at the Five Flags Center. I'd like to bring Chris up to kind of say what your personal opinion or professional opinion of the two halls.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this seems like a perfect market just right for bringing in events. I grew up in Milwaukee, and probably been 25 years since I went to an event down here, and kind of honestly didn't know it was even still operating. So when HR called me, come down here, and I was just amazed just driving in on how different this area is. And I think there's just a large presence there that you could really develop into bringing, starting out maybe 4 or 5 events a year, every quarter, bringing in something, bigger, and going back to the days of, when Styx and REO were here. I think those are, kind of the type of events we look at, especially that the waterfront area, the outdoor space would just be an incredible area to do something. So, those are just the ideas that we popped up, and I think there's a lot of potential there.
Chris, yeah. And again, it starts with engaging the community, social media, open houses, inviting the public back into the halls, having a little bit of entertaining, getting them reused to coming to our hall. We do MMA right now, we do some wedding receptions, but it's time to re-energize the facility. If granted a longer term contract, that's something that we could definitely do. Next slide. In order to do that, we have to expand our staffing. We've already identified a potential executive director that would relocate here to Racine. She's very talented in social media, promotions, and getting out into the public. She would work with our team and our promotion staff and our promotions company we have with Venue Works to promote the ticketed events. We work with Chris and the other promoters as far as outside events, but we would help to create different events for Racine and the downtown area and Racine County in general. Operations, we have Ricky, who would be our general manager of operations, in charge of that. Definitely a very important spot. He'd be second in command, hand in hand with our executive director. He knows the ropes. He's been here. He's been working with the various events that are down there now. His staff would then be expanded in operations, catering and concessions, and food and beverage. We think is a great potential for expansion of our operations, generating more revenue for not only the Festival Hall, Memorial Hall, but also trying to help bring down that deficit to the city itself. So with that, I will turn it back over to Steve, who will give you the proposal of what we plan on doing to launch this.
And yeah, we go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we think that it's going to take a little bit of an investment. We're willing to partner on that, but we're looking for a contract that would add 3 years, take us through the end of 2026. We are looking at putting in equipment that would enhance food and beverage service, other gaps that might exist in the buildings. We'll create a significant event promotions fund, and by that I mean about a $200,000 fund that we can use to guarantee shows and events to bring to downtown Racine. And that's very common for us to do that. And then we know that there's probably going to be a little bit bigger subsidy for a year or two till we get this thing back on its feet. We hire those people. We're not going to go out and hire a bunch of people, but it's sort of like a chicken and egg situation. If you got to have staff in order to be able to know you're going to do an event, but you don't want to hire big staff if you haven't got the events yet. So that'll be learn as we go, and we'll add as we need to, but we'll get through to that. But we'd like the opportunity to be able to start to work out a contract that would get us through those 3 years and see what we could bring this back. I think there's huge potential. We've been talking about this as if it wasn't doing anything before the pandemic. It was. We had the best year the Civic Center's ever had in 2019, by the way. Best financial year, most events. Most of those are community events. We're talking about adding to put in overlay of more commercial entertainment events, comedy, concerts, and family shows on top of that, indoor 2 buildings, and outdoors 3 buildings. So that's what we hope to do. The last slide is just a thank you slide. But our hope would be that we could work with you to
Bring Harry Potter too.
It's a Baltimore. I told him never to call me here. So I have that off. So anyway, that's our pitch, I guess. And we're honored to be having been your partners for a long time. We'd like to bring the facility back, not only to where they were, but to bring them up to date and bring them to new service levels in the coming couple of years. So what you have in your folder is a copy of the PowerPoint, and then you've got sort of an outline of a little bit more detail than the other
I just had one more thing I forgot to mention. In context of what HR was saying, as far as the dates, I'm looking 6 months to a year out currently. So working on something like this on a 6-month contract, there isn't a lot of opportunities there because, you know, if I'm booking something in February, I have a contract and then now we know that doesn't really work. So it's like a reiterate that point.
By the way, let me point out one other thing, because I know that you've got a lot of plans, you've got a lot of things you want to put on that property. But in the last few years, we've added hotels to the sites of buildings that we manage without having to close down the buildings. It happened to the arena in Evansville, Indiana. We got a new hotel coming online in a couple of weeks in Humboldt, Iowa, attached to the convention center. We paid for the link as part of our investment in contract renewal to link to a new hotel that opened a few years ago in Kennewick, Washington. I mean, we can help be involved in planning so that you don't have to close down the civic center and just wait for a developer to come along. We can work that out with you and work with whatever developer that might come along.
All the land you have for.
I have several questions. I know that things happen because of COVID, but we lost the prom and the prom is still being held in Franksville. Have you tried to contact the Rotary Club and see if they could bring the prom back to Festival Hall?
Yeah, Ricky can talk to you about that.
We actually talked to the Rotary, they want to know, they don't want to, they're there, and they don't want to uproot and come here, and then if the development comes, they have to uproot and leave again, so they want to know where they're at, is where they're gonna stay.
So we could bring them back.
Yes, yep,
Because by losing them, we lost the Night to Remember prom because they used to give them the room for the next day.
yep, and we are in talks with them to bring that back. Hope City Church is looking to potentially bring that back.
Okay, and then I've got 3 more questions. Can I ask them all?
Yeah, 3 more?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do one more class.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I talked too long.
when I was an alder before for 3 terms and I was off and on back on, I used to get an email every month telling me what events were at Festival Hall and the whole venue, Memorial Hall. Is there just nothing going on there? Because at least then I could see, well, it's a private event here, it's a roller rink there. I mean, could we get an update like that again?
We could. The trouble with it, and we'll make an effort to do that. But right now, there are only 2 people working there. There's Ricky and then there's another setup person. But I mean, there's nobody in the front office. If you call to book an event, it rings to Ricky's cell phone. And if he's on a ladder, it's a little hard to answer right away. So I mean, there's no staff, there's no people to answer all this stuff. And the buildings they're terrific buildings and they've got a lot of potential. We'd just like to help you get them back up and going.
Oh, no, I have 2 more questions. Have you ever made contact with City of Racine, like we sponsor Neighborhood Watch? They always have their fundraiser out in the county. Have you ever talked to them about having their fundraiser at City Hall? Or could we bring them in to City Hall and, I mean, not City Hall, Festival Hall?
I
Yeah,
would think so, yeah.
I would like to see that fundraiser brought to the City of Racine, seeing where the main
Yeah,
contributors.
I would hope so, yeah.
And then I want to know what the cost to the taxpayers is now, right now, for subsidizing.
Hold on just a second. I've got a summary that goes back several years. I'll pass out copies to everybody.
Okay,
So the most recent in 22 was $218,750. So here on that.
okay. And that's probably because we have a lack of events going on.
Well, you got a lack of events, so you don't have much revenue. You still have all the utilities and all the other things you got to support. So you got all the overhead. You just don't have any revenue.
All right, thank you so much. I will let somebody else ask some questions.
May I just follow up on that
Yes.
item, because I just want to clarify a little bit. So regardless of today versus even 10, 15 years ago when there were a ton of events, the city of Racine has always subsidized Festival of
Yeah.
Memorial Hall. So just to be clear, that has nothing to do with whether it was Venue Works or whether we were operating it ourselves. We actually have the smallest subsidy we've ever had today versus 10 years ago when the city of Racine ran it
That's what I
themselves.
was
So I just wanted to
wondering.
clarify that.
Okay.
But I don't want to, I want you to be aware of the fact that if we start moving ahead, there might be a little balloon in that. We'll get it back, we'll run it back, and then we'll get smaller. But there could be a little extra, so we get it back up.
All right, so I have actually two questions for you. And one is for clarity. So you have 3,500 employees nationwide, right? So you were telling us today that you need this to bring Racine back
Oh,
to.
okay. Seems like a little imbalance there.
Yes.
3,500, we got accounts where we have 3 or 4 buildings in one place where they might have 200 people. But we work with a nucleus of full-time people, so that would be full-time people. And then we bring in part-time people. They could be setup people, food servers, ushers, ticket takers. And those people are charged to the event. So they're not charged to the overhead of the building, and they count into that 3,500. So of that 3,500, there's about 225 that are full-time in those 20 locations.
Okay, and my second question is, I see that you're involved with 13 other states. So can you tell this body perhaps what is working in other cities that is not working here? So we can try to improve that to bring sustainability back to the city of Racine that we once had.
Well, first of all, I'm fond of saying that I think a lot of the towns, and we work with towns like, we're not major cities, we're in Joliet, not Chicago, Burnsville, not Minneapolis, Kennewick, Washington, Evansville, Indiana, Topeka, Kansas, Wichita, Holland, Michigan. And what we see is that the challenges are the same. It's finding that audience, it's city, it's bringing people in that fill hotel rooms and shop and eat in your restaurants. And that's our job. That's why we say that the events are for the, not only the fun and the entertainment, but also for the economic impact that it brings to your towns. Now, the questions and the challenges are pretty much the same in every town, but the answers are different. That's what makes it harder. So the challenges are, we think the answers are adding over what we've been doing. It's always been a strong community events market, things like the prom and stuff. And then add over to that more of the promoted entertainment kind of thing that Chris might do. We work with promoters out of Chicago and out of Kansas City and out of Minneapolis. So I mean, we've got a strong network of those people. And there's more activity at that level today. That is a change outside of what you control here, is that touring business changed a lot. And so promoters have a lot of artists that are out there. The artists aren't making as much money on recorded music as they used to. So they have to be on the road in order to be able to make the money that they like to make. And so there's a lot of people out there touring. Now, there's a lot of venues as well. But I mean, 6 or 8 concerts of a size like an REO or a Styx or a Ron White or, different promoters, what, can you name a couple that we have going on right now in some of our venues?
The event,
Eddie McCready, we just had,
just more, we got Aaron Lewis.
yeah.
I think if you look at racing in general, I was meeting with Carrie with the Convention and Visitors Bureau today, and she was reminiscing about the REO Speedwagons and the Sticks and how it used to be. But you, again, in these other communities, there was a sense of community, pride started to grow. And you can start to feel it here in Racine. Just in talking to the general public, there's this growing pride. Well, that's something that we would work with. And what we need to do is collaborate with the Convention and Visitors Bureau or downtown, other organizations out there, and the city. Really getting out there to the civic groups and see how we can partner with them to bring some of these events in there, either whether it be local, regional, or national act.
Paul McCarthy.
Thank you. Director's Fisher context there, I remember those numbers being as high as 600,000 in the past. Go back to slide 8 for a moment, please. So I appreciate the fact that you need an extended term contract to be able to plan in the future. It makes a lot of sense to me. What I'm not able to square in my head here is how a marketing and salesperson is proposed for second and third year. When right now you're trying to create a critical mass and you're trying to schedule things out. Can you help me rationalize that in my head?
There's two things we learned from COVID. One, we can do more online. First of all, we didn't quite get here with it because everything closed down just for doing it, but we've installed new technology, new bookkeeping system called Underbot. Well, I changed their name now. I guess it's Momentous, it's called. So it allows us, we can do more of the bookkeeping from our office in Ames. We can also do more of the marketing and sales work, pricing shows on sale, working with Ticketmaster, setting up events, placing advertising. We have a person in our corporate office who does nothing but buy clicks and buy social media. So much of that isn't like, hey, go to the record store and find out what's selling. I mean, that was 40 years ago. So today we can do that remotely. We can satisfy the marketing and sales component corporately to support those other events we were talking about as the overlay. We can support that until we can build this up to where we actually do need a marketing and sales person.
And it's from a regional standpoint, I would do a lot of the booking as far as the acts are concerned. The person we have eyed for the executive director position is currently a marketing director.
Yeah,
She's worked in a larger building. She and I worked together before, and she's a marketing genius. So, I mean, this can change. This can ebb and flow. If we find we have to switch it around, we can, but this is a good fit.
So what I think I hear you saying is you're offering marketing and sales service, and you perhaps may need a dedicated person in years 2 or 3.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Alderman? No? All right, so I guess I have one last question. So while I heard you speak, the word that stuck out to me was disconnect. So what is VenueWorks doing to fix that disconnect that's happening? Potential venues that's planning on coming to the city.
I think that we're reaching out to them. We've like, we're bringing in Chris, we'll do tours, we go to, we reach out to them. We don't just wait for the phone to ring. When we find success in one market, we try to take them to another market. So since the pandemic, for instance, in Holland, Michigan, the town's much smaller than USC, but we've been able to, we were doing like 12 concerts a year in a space that seats under 2,000. And tickets are selling very, very well, because once you get that flow going, success breeds success. A promoter, we will take the risk on events. And when we do that, it's sort of like priming the pump. And then we'll get other promoters who want to come in, like Chris, who'll say, okay, we'll take the risk, or we'll co-promote, we'll share the risk with a promoter. That's how we're doing it. We're taking risk.
We need to finally connect that. For some unknown reason, everybody wants to go to Milwaukee for shows, but there's really good shows here in Mason. That's what we have to do. We have to promote those shows here. You gotta find what fits.
What staffing did you have in 2019? You referenced that 2019 was the best year. What did your staffing?
About like those 5 that are there.
Okay. And then, Ms. Fisher, perhaps you can address this. You mentioned that the subsidy in the past was incredibly large compared to what it is today.
Mhm.
What was the change in that?
So I would say some of that was that when the subsidy was the largest, it was actually run by City of Racine employees.
Okay.
So while contracting is expensive, at the time, City of Racine employees are even that much more expensive.
Okay.
We also had, I will say, and don't be mad at me, but there were a lot more free events. There is a place for free events, but I'm gonna put my finance hat on and just say that free is not free, right? We still have to pay for the operating expenses associated with the staff. So there is a fine balance between community events and fully free events. So I think there were a few different things going on back then.
Okay, that's helpful to know. Follow up to that, there seems to be for-profit events and then not-for-profit events. What's the process that you've used for determining the rates and what nonprofit groups kind of get in on the lower rate and how those rates are determined? Is there a policy that you have for that or a process?
Yes, and that's something that the city would have to approve. By creating new kinds of programming, we really should revisit with the city what the booking policy is, what takes precedence, and then what qualifies as a not-for-profit event that is put on, sponsored by a not-for-profit entity. And then part of the budget is for us to submit to you to say, okay, this is the nonprofit rate, here's the commercial rate.
And is that something that happened prior to sort of everything falling apart in the past? That's something that you had.
But we need to get it out and dust it off and revisit that.
Okay.
Because you do have a lot of events that move out. I mean, they've gone other places and they stopped being there. And so what do we do to get that?
I spoke to several organizations that have used the festival site over the years to just get some background information. Because there's lots of sort of buzz in the community and people are, rightfully concerned that this is a taxpayer funded community space that's really been underutilized. And one of the things that I've heard from some folks was that there was a lot felt like being nickel and dime. And so I'm curious about how the pricing structure is established. Is that something that you establish as the managers of the venue? Is that something that the city is involved in? Is it something that's contractually established? Because I think that, at least I've heard from some organizations, is that every year it got a little more expensive to hold events at the festival site. And we all understand that things increase and things cost more money, and, et cetera. But I'm wondering what that process is.
So the process is that when we do a budget, we submit it to the city. It's based on an event matrix, and the matrix has this many nonprofit events, this many commercial events, this many a festival hall, this many a memorial hall. And in that, we're going to have rates. And those are always there to be able to dig down and know what they are and be able to see what the change might be from year to year. For instance, the church that uses Memorial Hall each week pays a weekly rate. They don't pay, we don't nickel and dime them, they don't get extra costs. It's a set rate. One of the things with big volunteer organizations, in fact, we've had cups made up in our office that say venue works on one side and the other side it says, it's okay, I'm with the show. Because you get a lot of people that are making decisions, and each one of those decisions could have an impact on an additional cost. We only had 4 stage technicians planned for your event. Yeah, we're gonna need some more people. Yeah, but you're not the person I talked to. No, it's okay. Mr. Johnson said it's gonna be okay, so we can do this. So then you add a 5th and you bill it, and then somebody comes back and say, well, wait a second, we never authorized that 5th person. Well, yeah, this other Mr. Smith did. Well, he wasn't authorized. So I mean, the kind of event you alluded to are probably the ones where you see the most potential for that. And it's always a job to try to contain that and remind people. First of all, you do sound like you're nickel and diming them because you remind them at the point when they ask for it, there could be an extra cost. That isn't what they want to hear. But you don't want to have that cost show up. And frankly, it's their event. You don't want the city to have to pay for that either.
I understand that there's, or I believe I understand there's some concerns with the amphitheater in terms of its ability to provide electricity to acts that you're speaking of. Can you speak to that? And if there's any talk about improving the outdoor amphitheater space facility?
There, I'm gonna let you guys are more expert at that than I am.
Sure, no, you. Go. What we found was there is correct me if I'm wrong, a 400 amp service and a 100 amp service, which in our industry is a lot of power for that amphitheater. It could be, there may be a power issue with a festival that needs power at other locations, but from the stage standpoint, I think the power is adequate. I think the overhead clearance might be a little high, but we can get to those points. And there's enough space on the sides to be able to stack our sound. So from a power standpoint, when I saw it for the first time, I kind of gave a wow. I don't usually see this much power at a stage like that. But that could be the distribution to food trucks or to other tables. So
Getting power out to them with, you know, extension cords, if you will, but I mean boxes that you use to distribute power.
yeah. And really, that's what we saw is that has technically the most potential of the entire operation is combining that theater, which has been very underutilized, to be able to combine with the boats in the harbor. We just, right off the top of our head, came up with what we do crisscross, and have an event, or we just, there's a lot of potential there for the indoor, outdoor events. That's being underutilized. That's a lot of opportunity for us.
Where the fence pokes into the green space there, you know, that fence lifts out and it opens up, so it opens up to the lakefront, to the boardwalk, if you will, and then it opens up a big square space that's in front of the state.
All right, any other questions for Venue Works? All right, seeing none, is there a motion needed for this? Or is this just being filed?
Just receive.
Move to receive and file.
Second. All right, properly moved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, I'm sorry, Alderman McCarthy and seconded by Alderman Orr. My apologies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, motion to receive and file carries. All right, next item.
Number 0487-23, communication sponsored by Alderman McCarthy on behalf of the Waterworks Commission submitting the developers
I
agreement.
think that's my.
Last shred, it's probably up there.
Oh, okay.
Developers agreement for the Tivoli Green Apartments Phase 2 Development Project, Vanguard Development LLC developer. Staff recommendation that the Waterworks Commission be allowed to consideration and approval of developers agreement for the Tivoli Green Apartments Phase 2 Development Project. Fiscal note, developer pays all costs associated with the installation of the water main estimated at $200,000. Director Peter is here to speak on the item.
Thank you. Good evening. Developers agreements, we've done many of these before. They're common practice for us through the retail water agreement between the city and the village of Mount Pleasant. So what these do is they authorize a water main extension, so we can feed water into the project. In this case, the Tivoli Green Apartment Complex, which is located just west of 90th Street and south of County Highway C. So we would build that main, but we have conditions. So the village can extend the water main anywhere within their existing service area. But it has to be built to the utility specifications. And then we will test the main once it's built, and we get the final as-built drawings. We get a 1-year warranty on the work. And then once we have that, the main will be dedicated to the utility and will become a utility asset. So going forward, the utility will do all maintenance on that section of water. All costs, as was mentioned, for any developers agreement are paid by the developer. So no cost for the utility or the city.
Questions for Director Kidder? Questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Move to approve the agreement.
Properly moved by Alderman McCarthy and seconded by Alderman Mann. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Item number 0547-23, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason requesting permission to enter into a 2-year contract number 2023-110 with the Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin for equipment installation and maintenance. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute and sign said contract with the Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin for equipment installation and maintenance. Fiscal note, it's a 2-year contract with a total cost of $400,000. Funds are available in account 70113573555 for fiscal year 2023, and the cost for subsequent years will be appropriated during the annual budget process. Director Edwards is here to speak on the item.
So as put in the agenda briefing memorandum, back in 2020, the city had a Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin and the city agreement to support the Racine Smart Transit Research and Autonomy Research Project. And I'm not going to go into all the details of what was done, but it was a very successful project. We were able to purchase a autonomous vehicle, which is currently housed at the campus of Gateway, where the students of Gateway are actually learning about it. The data from this autonomous vehicle is researched by the University of Wisconsin at Madison, which is also really great. And the city is becoming a research venue. And so what we want to do is we want to continue the project because currently we got a little stalled with that thing called COVID. And so now we're really getting going and we've been testing it and we now want to start adding more technology to be able to test. And so that's what this 2-year program would be. And so we would purchase the technology from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. They would do all the installation, all the testing that it's working, but then also the use of the data that we get from that technology and the maintenance. And so, for example, one of the items would be right now, the car, when it comes to a stoplight, it can't see the stoplight because there's no technology to help it tell if the stoplight's turning red, green, yellow, that type of thing. And so that would be one of the types of technologies that would have them put into some of our city infrastructure so that the car can continue to improve. But the other partners are also putting in matching funds. And so the University of Wisconsin-Madison's TOPS Lab, which is their technology, as their traffic operations and safety laboratory, we put in matching funds. They're going to do program management, continue with the research, work with Gateway on community events, develop research projects incorporating the vehicle, as well as expanding the vehicle's technologies, as I talked about, that we'd be providing some of that, and then prepare and plan for transportation-related activities, and things like that. And then Gateway Technical College is also putting in matching funds. They take care of all the housing as well as the maintenance of the Badger vehicle, the office space for the TOPS Lab staff to come in, as well as opportunities for their students to learn about autonomous vehicles to help maintain the Badger and things like that. Any questions?
McCarthy, yeah, cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I read the agenda briefing memo after your summary as well. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the city of Racine gets out of this. It sounds like we're doing a lot for on behalf of the University of Wisconsin. What is the benefit to the city of Racine?
The city of Racine is getting a variety of things out of it. One is the city literally just came back from a Smart Cities Connect conference in Denver. And we were able to show how a city can partner with others, bring in research to a city and expand the knowledge base of what's going on with autonomous vehicles. Right now, most universities that are partnering with cities are just partnering on, well, do you like riding the car? Is it a really cool thing? Are you liking it better now that you've been in it? Where this is actual full scientific research with the data. It's one of the few programs that we know actually in the country. And so that's enabling us to be able to go for other grants. We applied for 2 different grants. One we had to stop because we needed a little bit more work with one of our partners to make sure that they were good. And then another one we applied for with the university and didn't get it. It was a project to put in electrification in the roads to test that in the United States. It's actually being done in Europe. And so we wanted to do that.
So. Okay, I really want to support this. I'm really not hearing the value for us at this point. What I'm hearing is we're helping Madison, the University of Madison, and see it.
So, yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that are important to note. So the first of which is for every dollar we put in, we get 2 institutions that are matching it. So it's for every dollar we put in, there's $2 that are being put in by 2 other institutions, which is great. But beyond that, the build out in this particular phase of it in particular is begin to put an autonomous vehicle on the road. So moving off the Pershing Park Drive, which is pretty secluded, and actually through the downtown and connecting to the transit center, beginning to do that. But there's 2 things that are really important. It gets us to a place where we go down the path of beginning to embed that technology so that a transit system or other vehicles will be able to use it one day. But as Adele referenced, having one of the few places in the state or even in the Midwest that have this makes us eligible for a number of grant opportunities that would allow us to, number one, move us forward in technology, but number 2, bring additional resources that are here. And lastly, and Adele mentioned it briefly, but this is also because we're housing this here. Gateway has started a training program for people to be able to service these kind of vehicles. And it's our hope that this would be a place where people could not only watch an autonomous vehicle go by or perhaps take a ride on an autonomous vehicle one day, but also create space for job training and job opportunities for people by establishing a place for people not only to house a vehicle like this, but to learn how to run them, how to maintain them, how to use them. Because as more and more of these vehicles come online, they're going to the workforce to it. So for all those reasons, I think there's a win-win-win for the city to be able to have the technology here, build the workforce, and have a university like Madison be here to do their research.
Any other questions for Director Edwards? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion at this time. Yeah, I actually moved to approve this one.
Okay. Second.
All right, properly moved by the chair and seconded by vice chair.
Entertain yourself.
That's all my name, so I okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Item number 0546-23, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason, requesting permission to award a 3-year contract, 2023-117, with Environmental Systems Research Institute Incorporated, ESRI, to purchase and maintain our geographic information system software. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the signed contract with Environmental Systems Research Institute to purchase and maintain our GIS software. Fiscal note: this is a 3-year contract with a total cost of $165,000. Funds are available in account 70113-54500 for fiscal year 2023, and costs for subsequent years will be appropriated during the annual budget process. Director Edwards.
So we have been using the software in the city of Racine for over 10 years. So we've got a long history of using it. This software is actually purchased on a state contract. And we're bringing this to the council because it is one of our core systems and we want to continue to be able to use it. Most departments have some aspect of use, but some of our biggest users are the police or public safety departments and the Department of Public Works. It is unfortunately one of our most expensive softwares at $55,000 per year. Some of the things it gives the city, both the staff as well as the citizens, is it enables us to do spatial analysis of where things are. We do data integration with it, informed decision making. And so Tara was up here earlier discussing about voting in elections, the maps that you see of where the various voting areas are, when all those changes, those are all done through our GIS software, just so that you understand. Additionally, this agreement, this enterprise agreement, will also give us access to their technical support, their training, ultimate unlimited end user licensing, so we don't have to buy every single little license we want. And they also provide, they're one of the few companies that actually does this. As they work with different departments across other cities and other organizations, and they create something for them, then they take it and make it so that they can other departments in other cities can use it. So you don't have to go and say, oh, well, we want this. Oh, we just did that for them, but you're gonna have to pay to have us do it. And so we get a lot of capabilities just through the fact that they have built for others that we can now use. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. We've already started using some of those things. So I will entertain questions at this time.
Any questions for Director Edwards?
All right. Curiosity, does this offer within the maintenance package the ability to add layers to GIS and that kind of thing? Is that typically a separate project?
We're buying everything pretty much they offer and we have for years. So we have the ability to layer things. We have the ability to use a lot of the different products. A few of them are very separate and have to be purchased as standalone, but we get an enormous amount upfront. Is there something specific you're looking for?
Not specific at the moment, for example, we have our water lines or wastewater lines or storm sewers, those kind of things. Could be our electrical, I don't know if our electrical is on there or not. Are those things that are included as they implement that for us, or we have to do that on our own? Or how does that work?
Often we will do it on our own, using our own staff. We've got a variety of people trained in GIS to enter this type of data. Sometimes we will hire a company to do some of the very complex or very, very large projects for us.
So it's a layer they have already available in the system, we're licensed to use it with this. Correct.
I don't know that layer is the exact term you want to use, but yes, the capabilities to put well, yeah. The specifics of the layers, I guess, is what I'm talking about. The Racine waterworks on top of that. Yes, we have all of that, and we actually use a lot of it.
And you can see that now, it's all public facing.
I love it.
It's great.
Any other questions?
Yep. Mayor Hatfield.
I know one of the things I really appreciate about you bringing this forward is you've also just talked a bit about us maybe underutilizing the potential that Esri has and what other communities have used it for and what our potential could be. You seem to have a real eye towards wanting to maximize the value of this program. So could you talk a little bit about that just in terms of the time that you've been here, in terms of additional capabilities that might be there? Not that we would have to pay more for it, but just better maximizing and utilizing the software that we have.
So one of the things that we've been doing is working with the departments and training them up. There's a new capability, a new kind of, it's not really a version, but it's a different way of doing things within their product base. It's the more modern way. And so we've been training up staff around the city to do that. And that will give them much better capabilities and ease of use with the data. And so that's one thing that we've been doing. Another thing is that we've been adding, for example, there was a project where we were asked to look at possible increasing of streetlights within the city. And so we wanted to look at that from a safety perspective. And so we went and we had the data about where all the streetlights were. But the question was, well, where were they in relationship to crime? And so we took the crime data, put that on a map of the city, and then put the lights on it. And then using special analysis that the software offers, we're able to find places where we had high crime, but lower amounts of lights. And so then that was something that we were able to present to the city and could bring to common council about ways to put in lights in extra places. And then another one that we're doing is with our fiber map. That has always been kind of a drawn map. And so we've been adding that and looking at ways to make sure we know where every aspect of our fiber infrastructure is, including every can with the fiber curled in it, where it goes into every building and things like that. So we're building that out also. And we're working with Public Works Department to possibly implement software that will enable them to automate the trash routes. And so right now they do it all kind of drawn. And then when something has to change, they have to go change it. This would actually not only automate part of that, but look to see if the routes that we have are actually the best routes. And if something changes, if a road closes, you can press a button, it'll automatically figure out based on the rules you put in, which is the best route to take instead. So we're continuing to expand it.
And autonomous garbage trucks for a minute there.
No, those are not really. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for item 0546-23.
Approve.
Second. Okay. so properly moved by Alderman McCarthy and seconded by Alderman Paparad. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 0562-23, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the Human Resources Director requesting approval of the classification and compensation study for the Department of Public Works and the Parks and Recreation. Staff recommendation that the Human Resources Director be granted approval to implement the classification and compensation study for the Department of Public Works and Park and Recreation as presented. Fiscal note, the estimated annual impact is $115,000. Funds are available in the 2023 budget across various divisions and funding sources. Director Horton is here to introduce the item.
Good evening, Director Horton. I am going to introduce Baker Tilly, who started working on the compensation and classification study early last year, so early 2022. And the main goal of the wage study is to ensure that the city of Racine departments are offering competitive wages and reflective of the market. So introduce Laura and Jada, who will go over the presentation, and I do have copies for you.
While she's handing out the presentation material, I just want to introduce myself. Like Nikki mentioned, my name is Laura Linehan, and I'm a senior consultant with Baker Tilly. Here with us is Jada Kent, and she's the practice leader of our compensation and class team. We are with Baker Tilly, like we mentioned, and we are specifically in public sector advisory. So we specifically do compensation and classification work for local governments across the country. So thank you all for having us. We're happy to be here. And do you mind going to the next slide? Kind of an overview and agenda of what we'll be chatting about throughout this presentation. Our project methodology, kind of walk through the results from an external equity, how we incorporated the pay plan, as well as implementation scenarios, and also then recommendations for this. This is an overview of how the project was conducted. So we started with data collection. So really gathering materials, current challenges, and really just mining the data for information, including active census information, so we can kind of understand the history to know where we need to go moving forward. We then conducted a market assessment where we collected base pay information and other information from peer organizations. We then went into pay plan development with grade assignments as well as implementation calculations. And where we are today, we presented and prepared a final report and now doing our final presentation, and we've already delivered documentation to the city. A little bit about the market assessment. So first, we worked with the city to determine peer organizations that are similar in size, revenue population, number of employees, specifically as well services that are offered. And we also included private sector sources as well, 3 sources that help collect information from different offerings within the private sector that may match positions within your organization. We used benchmark positions to then collect that information, gathering those different types of jobs from other organizations and asking them, hey, what is your base pay for this organization? And when we say a match to the city of Racine's positions, we use a 75% threshold to match those positions using similar scopes of work to make sure that we have a match that is similar to the work that's done in the positions for the city of Racine. In regarding data adjustments, we made some minor adjustments. So work week, for example, if there are organizations that may offer a 37.5-hour work week versus 40-hour work week, we took that into consideration to make sure that we're doing an apples-to-apples comparison of the data. We do age data if it's not in the current fiscal year. That's often with the Bureau of Labor Statistics as an example. And then we also applied cost of labor differentials, which is not the same as cost of living, but I'll get into that a little bit more in some of the other slides. From a quality control standpoint, we go through a very rigorous quality control process. I want to mention that the market data is not weighted, so no peers information is given preference over another. We require at least 3 matches per benchmark position to really determine strong market values. And like I mentioned, we look at that 75% overlap in duties and responsibilities to be considered a good match. These are the 17 public peer organizations that were included in the study. And we got data from a variety of those. You can kind of see the ones that are in black we did not get data from, but still a really strong showing of data. Like I mentioned, we also had 3 published surveys that kind of represent the private sector. So the first one, number 18, is Comp Analyst. If you've heard of Comp Analyst before, it is a subsidiary of salary.com. However, we have the professional package where organizations submit salary data, not necessarily individual employees. So it's the professional grade package. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a federal kind of index of wages across the country. And then also the Economic Research Institute, which does pull data from Bureau of Labor Statistics, but is another private sector source. Like I mentioned earlier, we did apply a cost of labor differential. So cost of living is a measure of goods and services in the area, whereas the cost of labor is a measure of actual compensation paid. So cost of labor can be impacted by cost of living, but it's mainly influenced by the supply and demand of labor. So as you can see in the presentation, kind of the factor and how each was applied. So if you see a negative number, that means that salaries were decreased to kind of match the cost of labor within the city of Racine. If you see a positive number, they were increased to match the cost of labor for Racine. You can see the data adjustment up at the top. That's the cost of labor for the city of Racine. So of the positions that were benchmarked, 53 were utilized in the market survey as benchmark positions. And we did have 5 insufficient data points for those. So that means, again, less than 3 matches with that 75% threshold. So a market value was not calculated for those 5 positions. However, we had a really great response with 91% of data collected for the benchmark positions. We did collect an average minimum and maximum for each of those positions and then calculated a mathematical midpoint, and then did a comparison of those midpoints and market average value compared to the city of Racine's information. So based on the city already using an existing pay structure for full-time employees, the existing pay plan was kept. However, there was a recalibration of grade assignments based on the market results. I also want to make sure I point out that seasonal positions and part-time positions were not included in what we presented here today, as they're kind of living on their own separate part-time schedules. So this is a snapshot of the current pay plan. So you can see we've got a number of grades. This is step plan from A to W, and a variety of kind of midpoint differentials and range spreads. But really, we're using the existing city pay structure for the purposes of this study. So this is just kind of a graphical representation of the existing pay plan for 2023. I'm going to pause a little bit on these. These are the recommended title and grade assignments. You can see the recommended grade kind of in that corally color. So I'll just kind of pause here on these. These are the different grade assignments for the corresponding positions that we're included in the study.
We have current grade assignment?
That was my question.
We do have the current grade assignments in a different faculty here. We just have the proposed grade assignment.
It's nothing that. Means nothing to me. Some gone up, some gone down.
There were some adjustments. Yeah, so I'll add the way that we've established the grade assignments is using that market data. We're looking specifically at the market average midpoint. And then for an example, looking at the existing pay plan, if we're talking about 50,000 as a magic number, what grade has a midpoint is close to 50,000, and then that's how we establish, okay, this is an appropriate grade. We also collected feedback from DPW in terms of what grade assignments they felt were appropriate based on some market data points that they also collected. And a lot of the recommendations that we established were in line with what the department also wanted. So
You don't have the information. It says the very top line you're proposing as being an E. This is like a reading test.
Rashonda is going to give the information.
Oh, okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
yeah, I mean, normally we don't include grade assignments to get into the details of who goes where, when, why, but rather how did we come up with these results and why do we think you should believe that we used appropriate processes to come up with these results. while she's pulling that information, the next slide has some additional grade assignments. So I'll head to the next slide, past that while she grabs that, and we'll go into then just a kind of an overview of the implementation scenarios. So we provided 2 implementation scenarios for consideration. So the first option is employees are moving to the minimum of their new pay grade if their current existing salary is below their minimum. So really getting them to the minimum of their new pay grade for each position. And then all other employees would retain their existing salary. The second option, as this is a step plan, is moving employees to the step that corresponds with their existing salary without a decrease. And then this option places an employee on a step kind of within their assigned range. And also I want to just kind of point out on the little footnote there that supervisors do kind of receive a base salary adjustment to kind of account for that 100 hours that supervisors receive. So that adjustment was taken into consideration prior to the implementation scenario being calculated.
Can you say more about that?
So from my understanding is currently supervisors are receiving an additional kind of 100 hours for additional pay as part of their package. So in then doing the implementation scenarios, we kind of took that dollar amount into account because it sort of operates in a base wage type of environment. So just taking that into account and then applying the implementation scenarios.
So I'm trying to understand, by doing that, are you saying that's now baked into the letter grade that they're getting, or it's still separate from?
We applied it to their salary before we applied the implementation. So it's kind of being treated like it's already their existing salary.
Will they still get a bonus moving
No.
forward? No.
So I would have a copy of the schedule that exists now, it's only one. Yes, we got it into a So the first column is their existing and the last is what is proposed.
And you'll go back to the tiny grade.
Number 8.
I think it's.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon. Got my question? No, I know. You focused on salary very much on here. We consider total compensation in general, don't know how we compare to whoever else for medical, those kind of things as well, but it's all salary. So
This was just a market analysis. Yep, so benefits, wasn't part of it, it was just the basic.
it's base pay. All right. Second question is an overview from your perspective. Where did the scene fall relative to its competitors for public works and parks? And we 90% of the average, 10% of the average. Still a number like that.
Yeah, I think in thinking back to the original market results, and I should also note for purposes of this as well, we did age the market data by kind of a 6%, which is sort of a number that we've seen from an increase standpoint. So we did take that into account because the market data was collected, I think around June or so. So we did take that into account. So from kind of an overall of the original results, I do recall the city being actually relatively okay from a base pay standpoint. I think there were potentially some other concerns from a benefit standpoint that I remember kind of being brought up. I don't know if you want to talk more about that, maybe Rashawn as well.
Well, I think the concerns were about the cost of the benefits, and that was brought up by employees. And that kind of, I believe, played into the market analysis and the salaries that you guys came up with, comparable to other municipalities in the area. But that was the extent of what we had.
We didn't do that. This is.
No, it was based
So
No.
anything like that is anecdotal. at this point.
Correct, right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Baker Tilly?
Thank you.
Our recommendations. So we urge the city of Racine to approve the recommended rate acceptance and approve an implementation scenario that really kind of addresses your comp philosophy, your business goals, and is of course fiscally sustainable. And then continue to maintain classification going forward through use of reviewing positions, job descriptions, and kind of adjusting pay structures on an annual basis to kind of keep pace with the market, as well as take into account how to do general increases through assigned pay ranges.
How do you determine if this wage scale is fiscally sustainable?
Yes.
Exactly.
If I may, sorry. So I worked with consultants quite a few times during this process. It was a relatively long process. If the committee remembers, our compensation plan that we currently live under is pretty dated. So we knew that we had some struggles in our wage structure, particularly in DPW and parks and the laborer category. It is why we all chose together to start with that category of employees, knowing that the other largest part of our employee base is under a union contract, police and fire, if you will. Okay. So that was always the plan. In terms of fiscally sustainable, I will tell you this, that it actually turned out less expensive than I thought it was going to be. I think that there were several positions that were very comparable in the market, a little bit more so than I had actually anticipated. So in terms of sustainability for DPW and parks, yes, I believe that this is sustainable, particularly at that about $115,000 a year. And just a reminder that much of DPW in particular salaries are covered by different revenue sources other than tax levy. Stormwater, recycling, all different areas of the city other than tax levy.
Any other questions? So, Mr. Fisher, what percent of the salary before these folks is represented?
I'm sorry, can you say again?
So the existing salaries of these folks add up to a certain number.
Mhm.
The number is, we're increasing by $100,000.
Mhm.
15,000, what percent of an increase is that?
Small, but I'm sorry, I don't have it off the top of my head, but maybe 1%.
Okay, thank you. Question really around, if I may as well here. So I'm seeing in here that we recommended basically for electricians, they bump up one grade by the time I was done there. And that it said, indicates we were competitive to start with. They recommended going from I to I. And we changed it to J after that. Ultimately, it's $5,000. $5,000 to get you 4 electricians, 5,000 each.
The answer is, I don't know. We've had 4 vacancies in that, we've got 1 electrician. And we've had 1 electrician basically since I've been here. Market rate for an electrician, a union electrician as a journeyman 5 years in, $44 an hour. We will never be able to match that. That's just the reality of the situation. The idea here is to try and get as close to that as we can. And that's what we did in working with Nick Chili, good folks here at in Human Resources and Kathleen Fisher, Director Fisher, to try and get as close to that as possible. Is it perfect? No. Might there have to be some type of in-house solution we have to come up with? Possibly. But this is as close as we can get, I think, to what an electrician is currently making.
Can you go back to slide number 8? Because I want to add to that this midpoint is the magic number for the whole thing. This is how we're determining that the pay is competitive. But you've got 11 steps. So for some positions, your minimums might be too low, and for some positions, your maximums might be too high. I hate to suggest that you blow the whole thing up, but we were handcuffed to this pay plan. We could do more if we were able to adjust it, but what our numbers are showing is that the midpoint on that pay plan is competitive, right? I don't know if it's going to help you hire an electrician or not, but the midpoint's competitive.
I mean, the idea here was to get the best solution given the circumstances, and this is it. You know, when you're going through this, And you're looking at, are we ever going to pay a market rate? No. I don't think any municipality will. But we have to be able to get as close as we possibly can to it. Maybe there's an adjustment down the line that could be made in some type of benefit. I don't know what that is right now, but to the extent that we can, we have to make something attractive to electricians that are in the marketplace who want to come to the city of Racine. Right now, we don't have that. So this is the next best thing.
Any other questions? Mayor first.
You want to ask what?
So after a program like this been implemented in other organizations you work with, you have measurable results on retention and recruiting, where you can say you put in our plan. Retention went up by 2 years, recruiting went up by 5%, anything like that?
No, we don't track that stuff. And I'll be honest, because I could do my best work and the council doesn't implement it. That's nothing to do with me.
For those who choose to implement your plan for verbatim, as we may do at this point, we can have a check notes on that, so.
I mean, we've had, I'll say this, since COVID, we've had the majority of our councils, commissions, every kind of city, county, town, almost 90% of them adopted on the spot. Used to be before then, they would wait, we would hear a couple months later, they finally implemented, but most people are doing it immediately because they need immediate relief.
Okay, but we don't have any results to whether it's been effective or not. No, it's not.
No, we don't track that data.
Okay, thank you.
So just to follow up on this electrician question, I'd say drill down on the detail on position, but how far yet are we from? I mean, I am believe that the salary schedule doesn't have the hourly rate, actually has the annual rate. I don't know what 35 versus $44 is in an annual salary, but how far apart are we from market rate electricians to where we're, are we off by $2 an hour or $10 an hour? Or do we have any idea how close we are?
Just double it, by the way. 35 an hour, 70,000 a year. There's your rubric to use.
Makes a lot easier.
I would say that if our electricians or others line an eye to get them up to market rate, they'd have to be the lowest city electrician have to be moved up to a K mid-range. But that presents other problems as well.
So many
So
other problems.
once we start getting into
Yep.
that, there are other things that kind of domino down the line.
So some of the things that we're considering specific to electricians. So this was not designed necessarily to solve the electrician problem. Let me just say that first. Second, we are looking at different options for those positions that are very, very hard to hire right now. We have it in nurses too. There's all different areas where we're struggling, right? So you're seeing us publish for signing bonuses and things like that to try to make these positions more attractive. But Ron's absolutely right. This is the best solution for the majority of the DPW and Parks employees. And this is quite a few employees that this is affecting over and above the electricians. So I just want to remind everybody of that.
Quite frankly, if I could just add, when I talk to other communities about their electricians, not everybody has 5 electricians that are on call 1 week every 5 weeks. What we implemented as a result of this problem that we have is our DPW supervisors right now have taken on the role to be on call, quote, electricians, where they are trained to do the very minimum they need to do without getting into a safety hazard situation. If we have, for instance, a knockdown and we don't have our one electrician on call at that particular time, we have another public works supervisor that will go out, they will clean it up. The only difference is that you're going to see is things might be 12th and Memorial is a perfect example. Been in Splash for what, 5-6 weeks now. So, but we have our supervisors doing minimal work so they can be safe. If they have to shut down the whole circuit, they're going to shut down the whole circuit. So you might have a block's worth of streetlights or what have you out for a little bit longer until we can get that contractor to come back or our city electrician to come back and get that work done. So we've come up with a plan to kind of handle that. There's other cities that are within, kind of in our southeastern Wisconsin area that are doing the same things and have done them for a while. It's just that, there's obvious concerns when you're dealing with electricity and power there's obvious safety concerns. So, and the level of service has actually, plummeted because of that. And that's just the way it is. When you don't have 4 electricians, that level of service is going to go down.
If I are these the same supervisors and we're about to take away their 100 hours and roll into their base salary? Are they the same people?
The supervisors, that 100 hours is built in to, I believe, to the salary that, the grade that they've been recommending.
Exactly, they're getting a higher base salary rate, not getting extra pay for overtime at this point.
That's correct, right?
Okay, so hopefully they understand that. It's easy to understand academically. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? At this time, I'll entertain a motion for item 0562.
Approve.
Second, probably moved by Alderman McCarthy, seconded by Vice Chair Alderman Horton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next
Thank you for being patient. Item number 0510-23, communications sponsored by Alder Jones on behalf of the Transit and Mobility Director requesting permission to transition 5 part-time fixed route transit operators to full-time employment and eliminate 5 vacant part-time fixed route transit operator positions. Staff recommendation that the Transit and Mobility Director be granted approval to change the positions as requested. Fiscal note: this item is budget neutral due to vacancies, the elimination of vacant part-time positions, and mitigating costs associated with staff turnover. Director Young is here to speak on the item.
Yes, thank you, Director Fisher, members of the committee, Mr. Chair. The Transit Department leadership is proposing to transition 5 part-time fixed route operator positions to full-time. Transit Department to meet the service demands and retain staff while remaining budget neutral. The goals of this reorganization are to move staff to full-time positions so that they have more predictable scheduling, eliminate part-time positions that are difficult to fill and costly due to high turnover related to training, and then reduce those expenses associated with overtime. So this really is a 2-part proposal where we're transitioning 5 part-time fixed route bus operator positions to full-time and then eliminating an additional separate set of 5 part-time positions that were originally budgeted but are currently vacant. The proposal considerations are that it is extraordinarily difficult to recruit for part-time positions. And when you get them in the door, it's very difficult to keep them because of the way that scheduling occurs with seniority based on the union's agreement, collective bargaining, and just the on-demand organization that part-time employees are subject to. So what we hope to do is to make this transition so that we can continue to operate the service that the public expects. Another item to note is that the city of Racine currently is the only system in the state of Wisconsin that has this hybrid part-time, full-time model. So in the long term, what we want to do based on current workforce conditions is transition to a more full-time arrangement. These part-timers already work beyond what is generally expected of part-timers based on staffing shortages. So they, because of the hours that they work, are already eligible for certain benefits associated with full-time, but aren't eligible essentially for the stability associated with predicting what their work week and month is going to look like. So it's budget neutral and it's best for service demands. So we hope to make this transition.
McCarthy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Does this eliminate all of our positions? About 5 here for part-time positions?
No, it does not. So the way that the union contract is written, there are part-time language. So we're keeping a certain set of part-time positions vacant and still looking to hire for them if possible. So we've got 8 vacancies right now for part-timers, and we'd be eliminating 5 of those.
Okay, so there's still 3 out there.
Good question. So in the collective bargaining agreement, there's a outline of the role of part-timers as it relates to full-time employees. And so in order to honor the collective bargaining agreement and not, upset the collective bargaining agreement, we want to keep part-time on the books for now.
Any other questions? At this time, I'll make a motion to approve item 0510-2.
Second.
Seconded by Alder Paffrath. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 0511-23, communication sponsored by Alder West on behalf of the Chief of Police requesting to apply for and if awarded, accept the 2024 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant number 00508. Staff recommendation that the Chief of Police be granted approval to apply for and if awarded, accept the 2024 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. Fiscal note grant is for $22,050. City match of $22,050. Deputy Chief Teller is here to speak on the item.
Good evening. So essentially, we have to replace our vests every 5 years. And they are paying for half of that. So that's just it.
That's all?
Nice.
Go ahead.
Is this all of the best? 44,000, 1/5 of the.
Just as 1/5 of the best.
Okay, I rotate basis every 5 years. Okay, thank you.
So we do this every year so that. And then it also will encompass a little bit of. Why it's looking at this.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for item 0511-23.
Move to approve.
Second. All right. Moved by Vice Chair Horton, seconded by Alder McCarthy. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I promise Ms. Land, I'll get you on the next one. I can tell you can frustrated. I promise this one is yours.
I know, right? Item number 0520-23, communication sponsored by Alder West on behalf of the Fire Chief requesting permission for the mayor and city clerk to approve and sign the agreement for the exchange of fire protection and rescue services automatic aid agreement between the city of Racine, Village of Caledonia, and Village of Mount Pleasant. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to approve and sign said agreement. Fiscal note is an NA. Chief Hansen is here to speak on the item.
Mayor Mason, Chairman West, members of the Police and Fire Commission, thank you. As you all know, the Highway 38 bridge over Root River is being reconstructed. And there's been a couple of different proposals on what's going to happen there. One proposal by state DOT was they're going to close the bridge down completely, not allow any traffic over there. Another proposal that's out there is to allow traffic one lane in each direction. From a fire department standpoint, we have city properties that are west of the bridge. We have Old Mill Drive, we have Cross Ridge. If that bridge is down and we can't get across it for whatever reason, we're looking at anywhere from a 9 to 13-minute response time to get to those properties. Mount Pleasant has a similar issue in that they have some land east of the bridge. They also have the quarry, which obviously is a water hazard. Caledonia is in a similar situation. They have properties off of North Gateway Road there by the airport that they're going to have difficulty in getting to when that bridge does go down. So what this agreement does is it becomes effective when the bridge is officially closed to traffic. And this agreement terminates upon the official reopening of the bridge. It allows the three fire chiefs to work together collaboratively to come up with an appropriate response to the areas that are of concern to us and allow us to program our computer dispatch to accommodate that. We have no idea how long the bridge is going to be down. It's been estimated anywhere from 7 months to 2 years, depending on how they do this whole process. So this agreement signed by the mayor and the surrounding villages would allow the fire chiefs to work on a mutual aid agreement, an automatic aid agreement. So we don't have to call each other and say, hey, can you send us a fire truck or an ambulance or whatever the case may be. So again, this agreement starts with the official close of the bridge and terminates upon the official reopening of the bridge. Any questions?
If it's only partially closed, does it still go into effect?
Yes, well, think about it.
If you have one lane of traffic going
I'm
in
fine
each
with it, I just
direction.
want to make sure.
Yeah, you're not gonna get a fire truck or an ambulance through there, so yes. And really, it's all up in the air. The last meeting that I attended, they're still debating whether they're gonna completely, they say if they shut the whole bridge down, they can have it done in 6-7 months. If they have to go with a lane of traffic in each direction, they're talking up to 2 years. Because apparently there are issues with the river itself and the fish that spawn in the river. They can only work on the bridge at certain times, outside of those periods, so they don't disturb the habitat. So,
People have strong feelings.
I should.
McCarthy, but that was the exact same question.
Oh,
Just
okay.
then I go across that bridge and it's really.
Any other questions for Chief Hansen? Seeing none, Alderman, would you like to make a motion at this time? All right, second, all right, probably motion by Alderman and second by myself. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The motion carries.
thank you, thank you.
Item number 0541-23, communication sponsored by Alder West on behalf of the acting director of city development, submitting bid results for contract 2023046, RFP zoning code. Staff recommendation that the contract RFP zoning code be awarded to WSP USA in an amount not to exceed $200,000, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement. Fiscal note, funds have been previously allocated by the common council. Funding is available in 16001-52100, city development professional services. Planning manager Jeff Hins pulling up the last item of the night for us.
Yeah, and because of that, I've got an 8-hour presentation. It's so important that it's the happiness that you can see.
It really does.
Thank you.
The order of
Thank
this
you for
agenda
having me.
is
I'll
not
make
well
this brief, given that some of you have read the ABM, I'm guessing. But yeah, our zoning code is 50 years old, and granted, it's had things bolted onto it. It's not giving the results that really, I think anybody wants it, the city deserves. You could probably take everybody and they dislike it for a different reason. So that being said, it's probably time to overhaul it. This would be that. We did get 8 folks that did download our proposal. One person did apply, one firm did apply. I have previous experience working with that team at another municipality. I'm very confident they will get us exactly what we need. They've got a team of 9 people who worked across the country, including in this state, that will do good work for us and help get us results that we want, so they're more predictable and it's not just, well, submit it, to kind of find out what happens. So instead of people kind of guessing what we want from them, the new zoning code will be telling them, what we want, what we expect. It includes public space standards, a new zoning map, so the GIS center question from before, or McCarthy, that's something that could be built. City development builds many staff layers for use in GIS, and we're not functioning without that program, so this will certainly aid in that as well. So we're going to do zoning map. They'll be updating the text of the code. That's the boring part that goes into the municipal code that gives us the ability to do what we do. It'll create public space standards. So the right of way, if you have a really nice development, then there's some random agglomeration of things in the right of way, like benches and trash cans, depending upon the look and feel you want in certain areas, how your street furniture looks dictates what the development will look like. So there'll be standards with this project as well that marry the public right of way to the private side of the road as well. So we'll get all that, and the goal is to be done about this time next year with the new zoning code. It's going to be public outreach and many events that go with that. So if there's questions, I can take them, but I would hope that this would be approved.
You have any pictures of that baby here?
Yeah, I can show baby. He's a weekend and a half old. He's getting his own. He's getting there. He's legal non-conforming.
All right, at this time, I'll make a motion to approve 0541-23. We have a second? All right, motion by the chair and seconded by Alderman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, motion carries. We have exhausted our menu. Have a great night. Meeting adjourned.
No claims to deny?
Oh.